If I take this off here, here's the inside of this, the cooling passages and what they look like. That is pretty gnarly. We got a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of water held up in here too, sure, by all these types of things that are like clogging stuff up. Definitely look how bad that is. Outstanding from what it was with how much stuff is in there, like all these corners and stuff. And now look how clean everything is. I mean, that is just crazy. There's still like some spots on there, but this is the Ridline Marine portable flushing kit. Comes with a bucket, some red lime, a pump, and then some hoses and stuff. Inside of this kit, if I open this thing up, and it looks like we have our stuff right here. Got the red line right there. Here is the pump. Got our pump right there. Here are all the hoses and attachments. Let me get these attachments here to figure out how to attach to our engine. And then got some instructions here. Allow circulation from 2 to 4 hours. So we're gonna need 2 to 4 hours of this.
Now, I had never heard of Ridline before until we had like 100 comments of people telling us that we needed to check them out. So we looked them up and we found that you can get these kits on Amazon. So we got one, and now we're going to take the water jacket and the cylinder head cover off of a 2004 Yamaha 90 two-stroke that has probably never been flushed in its life. And we're going to see a before and after of the inside of the engine and what this Ridline can actually do, as well as the entire process. So if you ordered one of these kits and you need to clean out your engine, you can know how to do it.
Pulling out the last bolt here, and here is the top plate cover. If I take this off here, here's the inside of this. You can see lots of buildup into different corners and sections and stuff. What I want to do is I do not want to scrape any of this stuff. I want to see exactly what the stuff will do all on its own. So we're not going to touch anything in there. We're going to also pull this plate. So get this off here, kind of get her worked off. That's what the inside here looks like. And then here is the inside of the cooling passages and what they look like. So quite a bit of stuff all over there. Now let me go ahead and pull this and take a look and see what this looks like. And this is inside the back of the head cover. So it's pretty dirty, not as terrible as we are in our water jackets over here, but still not, you know, the cleanest thing. If we pull the gasket here, all right, so yeah, that looks pretty nasty. That is pretty gnarly. We got a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of water held up in here too, sure, by all these types of things that are like clogging stuff up. Definitely look how bad that is. That is just terrible. So we're going to go ahead and put the plate gasket back on, put the head cover back on, and then once we got these two covers on, we'll hook it up to the Ridline, and then we will flush this thing and see what this looks like after we get done with the flushing. We'll probably run it for 4 hours just because of how nasty this is, or I might run it for 2 and pull the head, check it, and then run it for the other 2 and do like a midway. Dropping the lower unit is actually pretty simple. There's just one bolt here, one bolt here. We need to take this plug off there. There's a 12mm there that will drop the anode with a 14mm under there, and then those two, we'll pull those, pull the lower unit off. I already had one of these. This is just a 1/2-inch piece of hose, and then you can hook it to these little adapters that they give it to, but I'm pretty sure I need to attach this to that right there being my water intake tube. And you want to be careful because this is like a brass copper like tube, and it's very soft. So we're going to stick this up on here just like that, and then we're going to put our hose clamp on there to clamp it, but you do not want to clamp it too hard or else you can mess up that tube. Now what I like to do here is I just take this hose clamp and I tighten it up to where it's like, you know, to slide up and down this, and I can just slide my hose clamp up on there and then just kind of snug it up, so that way it's not really like clamping it, but it's snugging it up to where it's not going to leak, and then that way I don't risk messing up that water tube. Now I'm going to trim this down. I'm going to put water in here first, that way I can run this with just water before I put any solvent in there, just to try it. And then I need to put my little hose from here to there. I'm going to disconnect this right here, which is my flush right there. Pull that off, so that way I can bring this around, and then this is going to attach right here, which is the P. And what I need to do is I'm going to run this, probably clamp it like that, so that way it sprays down into our bucket when I get our bucket there. I got my P tube down here landing in the bucket. I moved these hoses out of the way just to kind of help save as much as possible. I could probably actually lift this bucket up. I might even go get a block of something to put the bucket on to bring it up closer to lose the least amount of water as possible. So let me go find that. Yeah, look at that. All right, so that is perfect. Got the great height, or losing as minimal amount of water as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this out, and I'm going to pour the rid lime in there, and we're actually going to start doing the rid lime now. 245, so I'll run it for 2 hours and we'll see what we're looking like. All right, so we are supposed to do a 1-to-1 solution, so I'm going to do this whole thing. I'm going to put this whole gallon in there, and then I'm going to fill this gallon back up with water, and then that'll be a 1-to-1 ratio. All right, so one thing that I did know right here, so we are just about 45 minutes in, and it was leaking a little bit, so you kind of got to keep an eye on it, because as stuff is coming out, I've had a lot of junk coming out. Look at all that like calcium and stuff that's coming out right now. But as that stuff comes out, like look, now I got a drip. It's running all the way up to here, and it was actually dripping a lot out of the bucket. So you kind of got to keep your eye on it. I'm gonna have to add a little bit of water now, because you can start to hear the pump, you know, kind of grinding a little bit, because it's not as submerged as it would like to be. So that is one thing I would note, is that you kind of got to keep an eye on it, even though it takes kind of a while to do. So I'm going to add a little bit of water just to get the water level up. But as of that, a lot of this stuff is coming out. Like, it is taking a bunch of junk out of the engine. So here in a second, I'll let it go for another 15 minutes, then I'll take the thermostat housing off, and I want to look and see what it looks like in there. So this is 45 minutes of being cleaned, and that is really clean compared to what it was. It's kind of hard to see based on the light that I've got here, but it's definitely cleaning it a lot. I'm really interested to see what it's done in here, but I'm going to go ahead and keep running this. Just judging on what I can see in here, it looks like I definitely could keep running it for a little while longer. I don't know exactly how much of the head it is cleaned out, so we're going to find out. I'm gonna run this for another hour, so that way I got 2 hours of flushing, and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, we are now at what, almost an hour and a half, and we're no longer getting anything out of the P-tube. So I'm wondering if I got something that's stuck right here, or if there's something else stuck in here. So what I'm going to do is pop this off real quick and see, you know, if water is coming out there or not. And nope. So looks like we got one little clog there. Let me get a pick and stick in there, see if I can't dislodge whatever's there. Must have been a rock or a shell or something like that, because now we're back to flowing the way we should flow again. And we're just gonna go ahead and leave this like that, let it keep on doing its thing. All right, so we got 2 hours, just under 2 hours into this thing, and honestly, dude, this thing is peeing a lot better, if you ask me. I mean, that is significantly way more pressure than it had earlier. Wow, that is legitimately impressive. So this was 2 hours worth of flushing. I am interested to see what's behind here, but obviously we need to do a little bit more. But there is a bunch of stuff that has gotten pulled out. I mean, even this over here, if I look at this, look at how clean that thing came out. I mean, that is like astronomically better. The top, it doesn't seem to be getting up to the top as well as you would like it to. So depending on how bad it is, it might not be able to get up there into that very top corner. But sorry about this bird in the background. And let me see here. I've got a couple of things, like you can see certain salt chunks like that. I don't know. We'll see if over time it continues to break those down. In here inside the head, there's still a couple of, you know, spots that seem to be like holding on. Like up here is a little bit of salt buildup that's still kind of holding on, but all those holes are like finally coming through. So I want to run this for another 2 hours, and we will see what this thing looks like after 4 hours of flushing. So I'm getting a lot more coming out the exhaust now. If you look, I've got water all the way coming dripping from back there. I had to put some pieces of blue tape right there to try and, you know, stop any water. That way I can kind of keep it all in the bucket, because now I've got a lot more of a spray, because there's just water coming out of the exhaust, a lot more than there was earlier. And now that it's just flowing and pouring out, I'm just gonna go ahead and let this run for another hour tonight. So the difference in 2 hours and 4 hours is not astronomical. It's a lot less than it was in the beginning, but it definitely is a lot cleaner. Not gonna lie, this is outstanding. Look at that. It's got all those little holes in there are cleaned out. That one's got a little bit of stuff. It looks like the top. Problem is that it cleans out everything, and any kind of like corrosion or anything that is like building up, it uncovers all those pinholes. So like, look at that. It even cleaned out that little hole right there. I mean, and that one right there. All this is all super clean compared to what it was. There are some clumps. I guess you definitely need to, depending on, you know, how hard the stuff is, but off the walls, like it's eating everything off of the walls. Like there's no issue on any of that stuff. I mean, it has gotten everything really clean compared to what it was. But yeah, it definitely, when you've got a bunch of pitting in the metal, it's going to expose all that pitting too. So that might be the only downside, but this stuff works really good. It doesn't work, so if you see that right there, sorry about all the hammering in the background, but the that, like those shells and stuff, so like the hard rocks and the sand and stuff like that, I don't think it really gets that stuff out, but calcium and anything that's like buildup is going to get all that stuff out of there. So all right, so now I'm even more impressed, because all I did was spray this thing out with contact cleaner, and now look how clean everything is. I mean, that is just crazy. There's still like some spots on there, but the stuff is like super soft. So when you spray it out, I mean, look how clean that is right there. So yeah, I think definitely, depending on how bad or how much buildup you have, like look how clean that is. So depending on how bad and how dirty and how much buildup you have, I think you probably, look how clean that is. You probably need to do like a straight mix, and not, you know, not even dilute it with water, but just do straight red lime. So maybe even if you did like, say 2 gallons of red lime and then topped it off with water, depending on how bad it is, it'd probably do you wonders. But you can see, like anywhere there's pitting, it definitely exposes that pitting. So if you got a hole in your block, This stuff's going to take all the corrosion off that is protecting it. I'm going to fill that bucket up, and we're going to run just water and just completely rinse this thing out with straight water to get all of the red lime out of the inside of the engine. I'm just going to flush it out. I'm going to let this run for a little while. I'm probably going to change that water out, let it fill up, and then just let this continue running because I got the flush attached as well. Just finished up with the flushing, and this is kind of what it looks like back here. Just a little sneak peek before we finish this video out. This is all pretty clean. I could probably clean it a little bit more, like by hand, but that is only with the flushing. It looks outstanding compared to what it was, but now I need to put this old biscuit back together.